Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, it's for the record, March 27, 2025, 2 o'clock p.m. I'm Phil Albrechts, here examiner for Oak Harbor. Today, holding a public hearing on the Oak Heights preliminary plat, which involves like 209, I believe, or was it 219? Yeah, lots, single-family lots and duplex lots. Pretty large project for the city of Oak Harbor. The format for today's hearing is we'll have a presentation from staff. I believe that'll be Mr. Lindberg will give us an overview of the project. Once he's done, we'll let the applicant speak in favor of the project and talk about what it's about. And then after that, we'll open it up for public comments, and that's for anyone who's they're in the meeting room or who's attending virtually. We'll make sure to hear from all of you about your comments on the application. After that, we go back to staff. That'll be a chance for Mr. Lindberg to answer questions and complete the record as he sees necessary. The applicant gets final word, and I get 10 business days to issue a decision on all this. Now, by state law, I'm only allowed to consider evidence that's put in the record. I don't get to talk to the applicant or staff or anybody about the project information or details. That's to ensure that everyone knows what information is being used to come up with a decision on this to determine whether or not the project application complies with the city's approval criteria. So Mr. Lindberg has put together a staff report and some exhibits to back up his staff report, composed of the staff report itself, zoning and vicinity map, the application materials the applicants put together. We have your public comments, and of course I've read them all. SEPA materials, that deals with the city's evaluation of whether an environmental impact statement was necessary for this proposal. They determined that it wasn't necessary, and then the noticing that was involved with the project as well. So at this point, just want to ask if anyone has any objection to entry of these documents or needs to see them before we put them in the record. If you're in the meeting room, just wave your hand and we'll recognize you, or if you're participating virtually, just click on the virtual hand at the bottom, or I should say the top of your screen there. So not seeing any takers, which is pretty common. You'd only object on some technical grounds like the document wasn't relevant or authentic. So I'll go ahead and admit the staff report and associated exhibits 2 through 6. So Mr. Lindberg, are you the one that's doing the presentation today? Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, let me swear you in. Just raise your right hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to introduce this, but you covered it very well. It's a 36.7 acre parcel with 219 homes proposed. Just as a side note, we do have our engineering staff represented by John Pollock available for any questions if we do have those as we go through this. This is a little bit different than your typical R1 single-family residential preliminary plat, because they are requesting a portion of the property be dedicated for zero lot line or duplex lots at the northeast corner of the site. And because of that, they're going to be requesting reduced setbacks, obviously, and some size dimensional standard changes to what would be allowed in the R1 zone district. With our recent changes to the R1 district to allow smaller lot sizes, the rest of the single-family homes will be able to be approved as just a preliminary plat, but because of the portion at the northeast there, they're requesting also the PRD. As part of the PRD, they're required to give us certain mitigations to kind of mitigate some of the density issues that might come with smaller lot sizes and those smaller setbacks, and so they have proposed those as well. Their application materials are found in Exhibit 3. I'm not going to go through all of them. They're very detailed and cover everything that we need to have covered. So that is part of the review, obviously. So we have 153 single-family homes and 66 zero-lot line/duplex lots. I'll go through kind of a brief analysis of it, but again, it's all in the staff report. Do keep in mind there was an annexation agreement between the previous property owners and the city that was signed in September of 2009. There were 3 kind of primary standards for that annexation agreement. The first one being that the applicant needs to extend Southwest Eagle Vista Drive westerly from its intersection at the State Route 20 to the western edge of the property, which they have proposed. The applicant there was a requirement for downstream stormwater facilities that were insufficient at the time. The city has addressed some of those issues, and further development downstream has also addressed some of those issues. So that will be kind of handled in the civil plan review process, but that will be held to as part of that annexation agreement. And then the applicant at the time agreed to dedicate parkland for public use, and then also a multi-use trail through the annexation area. And that will be handled at a staff level at time of the final plat. The dedication usually happens at that time. So we have the following applications are under review right now. We have the preliminary plat. Included with that is the building elevations and the landscape plan also. And then, of course, there's the PRD that goes along with it. Transportation concurrency was filed with this, and as you mentioned, the SEPA, the State Environmental Policy Act checklist, was filed. We did go through the process with the SEPA checklist and submitted an MDNS, approved an MDNS. We had some minor changes to make to that, so we went back and submitted a revised MDNS. Did not get any further comments or appeals as of yesterday at 4:30 p.m., so that one is good to go and doesn't require any action on your part. So going through the preliminary plat, there are a number of criteria that are required to be addressed by the application. Staff has determined that all of those are sufficiently addressed and feel that it is appropriate use of the land based on those standards and the standards that are in the comprehensive plan as well. The PRD is where it gets a little bit more complicated because they are requesting those reduced setbacks and lot sizes. They are required to essentially, like I said, mitigate any negative impacts of those two items by increasing other design criteria, essentially. The applicant has proposed to go with a varied setback on the frontage of those zero lot line properties, which is one of the standards that they can comply with, and so we have accepted that. We do have additional landscaping that's been provided. They have provided us some examples of what it is that they're proposing for that location. Staff has concurred with that application or that design. And then they also have the open space that is required by the 1931, the PRD section. They have significantly more than is required, actually, so that's a good thing. And then also, just as a note, that the PRD needs to comply with all of the adopted standards that are within the R1 district, Chapter 19 or Title 19, and also Title 21 subdivisions. So they're not asking to vary from anything that would change uses or change any adopted standards other than those dimensional standards. Planning and engineering staff has reviewed the application and concurs with all the information that was provided to us. So we are comfortable with that. And as I mentioned previously, the comp plan designation for that area is the low intensity residential. We feel that single family homes and zero lot line duplex homes meet that criteria well. And further the comp plan standards in that area. Sorry, just scrolling through here, making sure I cover everything. So for the landscape plan, they did file a landscape plan. It is of an appropriate level of detail. We have standards for street trees, open space areas, entrance areas, road frontages, and the perimeter of the subdivision. All we had on there was just a note that we would like to see trees that are listed on the Seattle street tree list for the street frontages or for the right-of-way areas, and with the caveat that they probably want to utilize at least a couple of different species in case there's any disease or anything that might come through the area, and we don't want to wipe out all the trees in the subdivision. Native vegetation has been provided per the standards of the OHMC, and it's generally in the areas near the existing wetlands and walking paths, which is a good spot for them. We did get public comment from a number of people in the area. there were concerns about the increase in traffic resulting from construction of new homes. We did get the traffic study, and there is a revised traffic study that I will comment on in just a moment that addresses that information. Other potential concerns were contamination and pollution generating from hard surfaces, streets, roofs, etc. Just note that all projects in the city of Oak Harbor are subject to the Western Washington Stormwater Manual, which includes treatment and release of that stormwater. So that is hopefully a minor concern at this point, that it's taken care of as part of the construction process. And then two comments were concerning privacy situation on a house that exists to the south of the site. Staff feels that the application of the PRD standards for landscaping and perimeter fencing will address those sufficiently. And then another comment was regarding a potential street connection to an adjacent parcel of land. We have included that as a condition of approval to work with city staff to complete the gridded street connection in that area. So that's something we'll work with the applicant on with the engineering department as well. So part of the, we discussed the SEPA checklist. That's no longer, or no further action is required on that. The review process, we have reviewed the plans and documents here and determined that we can recommend approval based on some conditions of approval. And that at that point, if the effect of an approval is that the applicant may develop those construction plans for the proposed improvements, including civil plans and other details. And then the construction of the improvements are not to begin until all plans have been stamped and approved in writing by the city engineer. So essentially what will happen today is if we get an approval based on the application materials, then they will be able to move on to their civil plan and begin construction. So we have our list of conditions of approval here. And like I said, I want to make a couple of notes on here. The applicant got in touch with me recently and reminded me that there was an updated set of plans that were submitted in November for the PRD and the plat itself, and then also a revised traffic impact study that was also submitted in November. And what I'd like to do is enter those into the record following the meeting here and change any reference to the approval to include that set of plans and traffic impact statement, so that we are making sure that we're working off of all the same set of plans. There were some minor changes made. They don't change anything that staff has to, as far as comments or conditions of approval. So with that, I would just propose that condition number 1 be changed to the plans dated November 2024 rather than August 2024.
Okay, in terms of getting those documents into the record, let's label the revised plans Exhibit 7. Anyone need to see those or have any objections to their entering the record? Again, if you're attending virtually, click on the virtual hand. If you're in the room, just wave your real hand. All right, no takers, so I'll go ahead and admit that as Exhibit 7. And you said we have a revised traffic report?
We have
one person in chambers, Phil, who does have their hand raised, I believe, in reference to wanting a copy of that document. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
I got all the documents from the city, and
You get that over to him, Ms. Heller?
Yes, I can get that over to him.
Okay, yeah, and I'll just, for whoever was raising their hand, if you do have a problem, some objection with the documents, just raise your hand later, and we'll consider that. Then Exhibit 8 would be the traffic report. Does anyone need to see that or have any objections to enter that document in the record? Okay, seeing no takers, then we'll...
Same gentleman in the chambers, yes. And I'll make sure we get him a copy of that document.
Perfect. All right. So I'll go ahead and admit that as well. And again, if the person who wanted to take a look at that has objections over it, they can raise their hand later, and we'll deal with that. So, Mr. Lindberg, just I kind of wanted to one of the engineers to go point by point. There were some comments raised by Mr. Engine about the traffic report, a bunch of questions. I thought it would be useful to just kind of address all of those there. It was on page 15 of Exhibit 4. Is there someone from city staff that might be able to answer those questions in the hearing, or maybe the applicant's traffic consultant if they're participating?
I'm going to open up Exhibit 4 real quick and look at that. You said page 15?
Yeah, I think that's, and I see if I can get that back up. And just lost it again for some reason.
Phil, while he's looking that up, can I get some clarification on the documents we're providing to the gentleman here in chambers. Is the expectation that he's looking at them right now and deciding if he has comments while we're here, or will the record remain open for a period of time for him to provide comment after having time to review them?
Well, if he needs time after the hearing, I can leave the record open a little bit for that, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's very unfortunate today. Our timing is off. Our big plotter printer that we would normally use to print them out is not working. So I don't have the ability to hand him that paper right at this moment
Oh.
during the meeting.
Okay.
So I
I'll
think
leave the
it would be
record
fair to
open.
leave some
Yeah.
time for him to actually review and offer comment.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, just at the end of the hearing, remind me and we'll leave the record open so you can take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have my document open to page 15. Which specific
Yeah,
comments?
it actually starts on 14, just
Okay.
2 lines, and then, yeah, it's those bullet points there. I was just wondering if someone from the city or the applicant team could kind of address those, because as you said, stormwater regulations are very comprehensive and cover any impact people can think of. Traffic analysis is a little more wide open, so it helps to kind of address specific concerns when you can, so.
Sure. I would probably defer this line to John Pollock with regards to the stormwater, storm drainage report, et cetera. So,
Well, I'm just asking about the traffic report. That
Oh,
should
I'm
be.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, maybe my
Further-
page numbers are off. I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to,
Got it.
yeah, my questions are about the traffic report, which starts on 15. That's my fault. I
Okay.
I
No.
identified the wrong page.
I got it.
Yeah,
I
starting
would-
on page 15 through 16, right.
I would still defer to John on that one because that is his review in the traffic
Okay.
report and the engineering standards.
Okay, so that's on your staff, is he?
Yes, and John, I believe, is
Okay.
available online if you would like to ask him a
Okay.
question.
Sure, yeah. Let's see. John, are you there? And I didn't catch your last name, so.
Yes, sir. My name is Jonathan Pollock. I'm an engineering technician here at the Public Works Department.
Oh, there you are. Okay, let me swear you in real quick. Just raise your right hand. You swear firm, tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have access to the public comments exhibit 4 that starts there on page 15?
I am looking to have that opened at the moment. Are we referring to the entire packet for your approval that was submitted to you?
Well, I was given exhibit 4 separately. I was given an email with the different exhibits as separate files. So, and this is the public comments part of exhibit 4.
Because I have a 554-page document.
Okay, that's a little long, yeah. Exhibit 4 is just 19 pages. Well, I don't know, Ms. Heller, could you maybe email him exhibit 4?
I'm working on it.
Yeah,
Oh. Ms.
Ray or
Heller,
I
okay.
will, whichever one of us gets it done first, yes.
Okay, perfect.
John, you should have an email in just a moment.
Okay. Okay. Exhibit 4, and you said this was page 15?
Yeah, starting on page 15, traffic report.
Okay. So the first bullet point regarding the speed limit on SR 20 with the classification as an urban principal arterial versus the change to the 50 mile per hour speed limit, which occurs south of the intersection of Eagle Vista and Highway 20. That is a true statement to the extent of that is the current condition. However, as part of this project, it is the city's intention to approach WashDOT with the intent to adjust that speed limit to be even lower and extend that lower boundary further south, nearer to the intersection of Southwest Waterloo and SR 20 to help mitigate any concerns about high speeds with the turning motions off of the highway. Second bullet point referring to traffic volume locations with potential flows with Ridgeway and Swantown. Reading through this,
It looks like their concern is it's not taking into account some inputs to those intersections, maybe. I don't know if you can comment on that accuracy. of that.
Correct, and that was based upon engineering's direction that between the city and the state, we already know that the intersection of Southwest Swantown is failing as it stands, and the State Department of Transportation is working through designs for mitigating the known congestion issues at Southwest Swantown, in fact, all the way through the corridor to Southwest Barrington Drive northward. Being as
That kind of touches on the legal issue, right? That the city doesn't mitigate state intersections, and that's up to WashDOT. And if WashDOT wanted to get some mitigation, they could request it. They haven't in this case, is my understanding, and the city can't otherwise require the developer to mitigate impacts of that. Is that correct?
Well, we as a city can require the developers to provide for improvements to the SR20 corridor in conjunction with WashDOT, gain their approval for proposed items, and that is one of our ongoing discussions between engineering and the applicant team, is to have improvements made on SR20 to help mitigate the congestion that the immediate vicinity of the project will have. However, northbound, again, this point was that we chose to be relatively lenient, and since it's already a known issue at Swantown, we didn't see the value in knowing that it was still a known issue. You can go down to Southwest Swantown Avenue at any given afternoon and find that traffic is congested very heavily through the corridor. It's not a surprise to anybody that lives in the area. Will the impact of this development have additional congestion on that? Yes, until such time as both the city and WashDOT can come together with a true plan for improving that particular intersection and the rest of the traffic stream up and down from that area. Our applicant team here is proposing some rather robust design changes to the corridor immediately adjacent to their property, which we felt was a fair and equitable exchange in that matter.
Okay. But I mean, WashDOT hasn't requested any mitigation from this project, right now for those.
They have requested some. They are working through reviewing some of the others, is my understanding at this moment.
I
Some
see.
more enhanced mitigations for that. Yeah.
Is that, I mean, but has that been imposed, or is that might be imposed in the future? What's the status of that?
That would be imposed through the civil plan approval stage here at my level. As far as, we know that this is happening. You're proposing to do these things. WashDOT has agreed to them. If that gets to the state, or they want to have more of a hand in designing what the developer, the proposed applicant team is proposing, if they want to say yes, but do it this way, or no, you can't have that, we need to do something different. That's going to be worked through at my level once we get beyond this initial approval stage, but we are well aware of the congestion problem in the area, and we have mechanisms in place to address that. Next bullet point, going down, location 6, direct connection Highway 20. I'm not familiar with what they're calling location 6 on that, but I believe that he's referring to the parcel that's just south of the proposed development. And in fact, I believe I already spoke with this gentleman about this. We are, with the mitigations that our applicant team is proposing, it will be shifting more towards a lower speed corridor in the area, and with greater control over the turning motions, both left and right turning motions will have greater control. So speaking about this, it's that is being taken into consideration as this proposal moves forward.
So in terms of speed limits, that's not, just for clarification for the public, that's not something we'd impose as part of a permit application, but it is something that the city could do, of course, at any time. And you're saying the city is considering that right now?
So yes, but no, sir. Just to be clear, WashDOT is the authority on the speed limits along SR20. We have inputs into those speed limits, and in the past, what they have said to us is that if we wish to adjust those, what they require is improvements being made onto that corridor to warrant the reduction in the speed limit. So in this case, with this development coming online in the near future, when they conduct those improvements, when they construct the mitigations, the designs that they are improving, that at that point in time, we as a city will approach WashDOT and say, hey, we have met your condition. Please reduce the speed out to this point.
Okay, gotcha. Good. All right. And final point, I guess, there.
The final point, page 15, all the site acts operate at level service B or better, E along SR 26. So he's referring again to the flow motion charts of the turning motions and the delays through that. He doesn't cite the level of service that that we are with there at the end. We don't require level of service B or better for the intersections within the city. That's level of service D delta, and then level of service E echo for the highway. So again, this one, I believe that we are working through with the improvements that are being proposed by our applicant team for this area, as well as future connectivity, gridding through the road network for additional access points north and west. As we continue to see development in the area, we'll have other avenues for traffic to flow northbound in the safer and probably easier to access way. The concern is a valid one, but I believe that it's not entirely accurate as far as what he has presented there in that statement. And now that I see the gentleman's contact information, I can say with certainty I have spoken with him about this and helped him to understand these before. And I do believe that the development team is on the right track from what I've seen in their initial design criteria and in our dialogue back and forth.
So you said the city's adopted LOS D and E. Is that adopted in the? I mean, you just have like different types of intersections, or is it based on location?
Yes, sir. So level of service D dog is reserved for the intersections that are within the city's street grid that are not on the WashDOT corridor. So the SR 20 corridor. Those intersections, all streets that touch it, are expected to operate at level of service E echo. Everything else within the city is expected to operate at or above or at level of service D dog. So,
okay. All right, great. Thanks, Mr. Pollock. Very helpful. I'm glad I asked, actually. I know traffic is usually a big concern for people, and in my decisions, I try to address everything that, they raise. So you've made that a lot easier for me. So let's, I guess, move on then at this point to the applicant team. Does the applicant want to say anything at this point?
Apparently, I'm considerably shorter than the last person who used this mic. Do you want to start with me?
Okay. Yeah, then would you tell us who you are, and then I'll swear you in.
My name is Kathy Orney, and I'm the project manager with DR Horton.
Okay, Ms. Orney, I'll swear in. Just raise your right hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Examiner, the public. I look forward to speaking with you all more as the project moves forward. First, I'd like to start by thanking staff for working with us. This has been a long time coming. As I'm sure many people in the room are aware, this project was previously approved under a different developer, and ultimately that project failed. And so we have picked this project back up. Excuse me, it expired. We have picked this project up and are now re-entitling it. This project is somewhat different in that with the city's new codes, we are able to bring more variety of units to the city, some that are certainly at a much more attainable price point than what you're seeing in most new developments. So I look forward to bringing that to fruition for the city, as I know housing is a significant concern for the area. I would like to make a couple of comments as well. First of all, I know that traffic is a significant issue, and if there are further questions that the audience or the examiner have, I have Dan McKinney with Transpo, who was our traffic engineer, and Transpo prepared the traffic impact analysis, so they're available if you should have any additional questions. If there are any procedural items that come up, I have Peter Derlin with JMMK Law, who is available to take questions. And if there are any questions specific to civil engineering, I have our in-house engineering team, DHI Engineering, available to answer questions. It's Colin Lund and Preston Lingotti. So if there are specific technical questions that any of these individuals can answer, I'm more than happy to have them respond to those questions. Also want to make a point of clarification because I think it's a little unclear. Because we are proposing a PRD here, we are proposing 5-foot side yard setbacks throughout the plat, not just on the duplex lots. The difference with the duplex lots is that we will have 5 foot on one side and 0 on the demising wall between the units. I'd kind of like to add a little bit of clarification to some of the answers and responses that John with the city has answered. We had gone back and forth in numerous meetings with the city and with WashDOT. Because we have dual jurisdictions that have priority and authority over the plat and the WashDOT corridor, that communication is ongoing, and I think that's why it would appear that there's some uncertainty with how we're actually proceeding, because we can't proceed and the city can't authorize any improvements to the WashDOT corridor without WashDOT's approval. So I think that's why it appears that it's a little wishy-washy at this point. It's because we have to continue going through that tri-party process to finalize what WashDOT will accept those improvements. I know that our SEPA mitigation measure proposes perhaps some turning movement controls at 24th to address concerns there, and a potential for a mini roundabout at the SR20 Eagle Vista connection. But again, we can't finalize what all that will look like until we obtain WashDOT's consensus and approval on those. And I'm sure Dan McKinney could speak much more thoroughly to any of the other questions that were raised in Exhibit 4 if he feels that those still need to be addressed. I would also like to, as I go back through my little questions here, to point out that, there we are, the conditions of approval basically allude to the continuing conversations that have been going on under SEPA condition number 13. So that sort of encompasses the level of discussion that we've had thus far. There are a couple of other items that I would like to enter in the record, and I will provide this to the city team and they can get that into the record. I understand that school-safe walk conditions have been a concern for other plat hearings in the past. We have, in fact, reached out to the school district and have obtained confirmation that there will be 2 bus stops within the future development itself. And so via the on-site, the interior plat sidewalks and the interior plat bus stops, school-safe walk conditions have been met, and I will submit that into the record. There is one other point. Because we are still continuing to work through, obviously, the designs with WashDOT and some of the public versus private road standards, there are 2 conditions of approval that I would like to request be slightly amended. On condition number 24, which goes to the engineering plan approval prior to any grading work, we have, in fact, submitted an early grading permit. In order to balance this site, we need to grade it site-wide, and so we'd like to do that in advance while our civil plans are being reviewed and approved. So I am requesting that the last sentence of that condition be amended to say such plans must be submitted and approved by the city engineer prior to beginning any grading work on the site or as otherwise approved by the city in connection with an early grading permit. And then on condition number 25, it says that all construction plans have to be in conformance with the city, street, and utility standards. As you know, the PRD provides flexibility in design, and one of those goals that it hopes to achieve is reduction in impervious surface. And so we are continuing to explore ways that we can potentially reduce the impervious surface within the loop road of the duplexes. So I'm requesting that that condition be revised to say all construction plans and specifications shall be in conformance with the city, street, and utility standards as may be modified by this approval or as otherwise approved by the city in connection with the civil plan review. I think that is all I have based on the comments that I heard during the city staff and the public's concerns. If there are any other questions you have for me, I would be happy to take them, or if there are any questions that you have for our technical consultants that are available.
Okay, well, first let's get your school safe walking conditions analysis into the record. Any objections over getting that document in as Exhibit 9? That addresses whether school children will have safe walking conditions to the school bus stops. Any takers out there? Okay, seeing none, we'll put that in as Exhibit 9. Ms. Orty, just a quick question about your requested revisions. I mean, my understanding of modifications to standards done through the PUD process is that's done through the hearing examiner approval, not through staff civil review. Are you saying that you want staff to be able to modify design standards using PRD authority just as part of civil review as opposed to getting that approved through the public hearing process?
No, what we are requesting is that we may be requesting to use some private road standards versus the public road standards, but we're still in the ongoing discussions with the city. If in fact they're not in favor of us going that route, we are more than happy to use the public standards that are currently in the plans.
All right, sounds good. All right, I think is that it for the applicants then?
That is it.
All comments? Okay, perfect. All right, let's move on then finally to the purpose of today's hearing, which is to hear from the public. And first, Ms. Heller, why don't we go through the people in the room first? And do you have a sign-in sheet, Ms. Heller, you can use to call people up?
I do, but we have one name. I don't believe, unless they've changed their minds. Would you like to comment? Okay, and we have one other member of the public. Would you like to comment? No? Okay, we don't have anyone here in the room who would like to comment.
Okay, then I'll just ask people who are attending virtually if there's anyone that wants to say anything, or raise your virtual hand. I don't think there are any takers there either, right, Ms. Heller? Looks like Pete Derlin wants to speak. He's the applicant's attorney, I believe. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, okay. Well, when we get back to applicant comment, Mr. Derlin, I'll let you speak then, just so we maintain the order of the proceeding. It's not a problem. Staff response, anything? Any staff rebuttal at this point?
I just have a couple of comments. I did talk to the applicant about the two proposed changes to the conditions of approval, and they look good to me.
Okay.
And then also with regard to the setback comment, the setbacks for single-family homes are 5 feet on either side. So it's what she said is true. I just wanted to clarify the single-family homes are going to be meeting the standard setbacks for just a regular plat. And then it's just those zero lot line duplex lots that will be 5 feet on one side and 0 on the other.
Okay. Yeah, and Mr. Lindberg, just, I know I can just go to the tape recording, but just to be sure that everyone's in agreement on the revised conditions, could you maybe, between you and the applicant, email me the revisions to the conditions you requested at the hearing today?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Makes it a little cleaner. Okay, we'll go back to applicant. Mr. Derlin, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Examiner. I just had one clarifying question about the record. I was just curious to hear how long that was going to be kept open after this hearing. And I guess we would ask that it be limited to any objections for the entry of exhibits.
Okay, all right. Well, it's, I don't think that we need to keep it open a long time, maybe until, let's see, today's Thursday, until next Tuesday at 5, that the person who wanted to look at these, and, the thing is, this is new information, so they should be allowed to speak on the new information, and I let them do that in terms of the revisions, the revised plans, or any revisions to the traffic report. If the person wants to make comment on that, they can. Just get your comments, like I said, in by Tuesday by 5, and then the applicant and staff can respond by a couple days later. Does that work with the applicant? That'd be next Thursday, then, a week from now.
I believe that.
And if it turns out their comments are, lengthy, I can certainly extend the time for applicant response. That's not a problem.
Okay. We have no objections to that.
Okay, that's the way we'll work it then. So to be clear, let me look at my little calendar here. All right, so the person who has to look at the revised traffic report and revised plans will have until the 1st of April to provide any objection or comments in response to those changes to the traffic report or the plans. And again, it's only responses to changes in the traffic report or the plans. And then staff and applicant can respond to those comments by the 3rd of April by 5 p.m. So, and just make sure to, for the person looking at the plans, to email those to, should that be Mr. Lindberg or Ms. Heller?
Both would be great, and then we can
Okay.
see the comments and then make sure they're forwarded to you.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so just email those. If you don't have their email addresses, of course, just you can get that once the hearing is adjourned. So with that, I think we've done everything we need to today on this one. And yeah, for a project this big, it's I'm not used to seeing such a small turnout. I guess that means it's a good project that's been well mitigated, and that's good to see. So anyway, thanks all for participating today, and we're adjourned.